Roll call. We'll call roll first.
Coiner,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Estes, absent. Lamech,
Here.
McBride, absent. Peterson,
Here.
Schertz, Schlew, absent. Spratt, here. Thomas,
Here.
and Trees.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr.
We
Chair.
have a quorum, so we can continue. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meetings, or the minutes from the last two meetings? Any corrections or additions? Go ahead.
I was here in July, wasn't
Yeah. Does it show on the,
That's my mistake. Your last name was put in as Schneider on accident. I will correct that.
Schneider, huh? Oh, okay.
I? Well, I can do that.
Okay, that's close. Any other corrections? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the August 6th meeting.
I second the motion.
July 2nd meeting. Minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion on the July minutes? If not, all in favor? Aye. Now we need. Mm-hmm.
I would like to move the approval of the August 6th meeting. And I would like to add or have a question after we have time for discussion with a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the August meeting. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question about the formation of the stakeholder committee under the report for the safety concerns with Prospect Hill. It says clearly we will have a stakeholder committee that will review and talk about that project. And so I wanted to know what that was about, or a timeline.
So, working with Alderman Rawson, we did a RFP to look at design services potentially to analyze the park. The stakeholder is any interested in parties. At this point, that hasn't fully been formalized, but it'll consist primarily of neighbors concerned with the park. Staff, any PAB members that are interested, just let me know.
So you'll send out some kind of a notice when that will happen?
I can, sure.
Okay, please do.
Thank you. Any other comments on the August minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving? Aye. Any opposed? Good, so we've approved the minutes of the July 2nd and August 6th meetings. Now we're ready for public comment. It looks like we have some public today. Yes. Mr. Churchill, are you? Don't get comfortable.
Richard, they're on the agenda under
You're on
new
the
business.
agenda. You're not the public. No, that's correct. I'm sorry. So, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Go ahead, Jerry.
While I was out at Imai's Park the other day, a lot of the kids play basketball out there. I think Chad, you and I have talked about this before. And one of the grown-ups that live in that area that work with those kids a lot basically said that they would like, I explained to them about the Ninja program that we have down in Sunderbrook and so forth, and they would like to have that, and they said if they could get 800 signatures, would that change the way of putting one in there? And I said, well, the main thing what we would do is for you to come down to one of our meetings and express what you would like to have done, and then go from there. That makes sense. So that's something that came up, and that's to discuss that. That's why I just want to let that know. Okay.
Thank you, Jerry. Well, seeing any other public comment? No. We'll move right along to old business, which is the election of officers. I believe there is a slate of officers in, wasn't there one in our packet here? If I can find it, what is, do you call, there it is, okay. I'm not sure the official way to do this, go ahead.
I mean, it's a roll call vote,
Okay,
so I'll call roll for each one,
okay.
I guess.
So, our secretary will call the roll for each vote. So the first vote being for chairperson, excuse me, go ahead.
Um,
And since there's only one candidate for each position, it's either yes or yay or nay.
Coiner,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Lemecq,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes for Richard Thomas for chair.
Schurz. Yes. Spratt, yes. Thomas.
I'll abstain.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, I didn't. Trees.
Yes.
And I see Ms. McBride came in
Yes.
late. Would you like to cast your vote, please?
Aye.
Yes. Okay.
What's it?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
For vice chair, the vote is for Wendy Peterson. We'll do the same procedure.
Okay. Coiner,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Lemecq,
Yes.
McBride,
Aye.
Schurz,
Yes.
Spratt, yes. Thomas,
Yes.
and Trees.
Yes.
Okay. All yeses. Unanimous.
Unanimous. Okay. For the secretary, the candidate is Leah
Again.
Spratt.
All
Okay.
right. Coiner,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Lemecq,
Yes.
McBride,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Schurz.
Yes.
I will abstain. Thomas,
Yes.
Trees.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
And for our new liaison to the Riverfront Improvement Commission, it's Mike Schurz.
Coin.
Wait a minute. Oh, so everybody knows who Mike is? Okay.
All right. Coiner,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Lemecq,
Yes.
McBride,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Schurz, Spratt, yes. Thomas,
Yes?
and Trees.
Yes.
Great. Unanimous vote for that as well.
Okay, so they are all unanimous. Thank you. Is there any other old business that I can't think of any right now that won't be covered in the director's report probably? No? Okay, moving along. Now I think we're ready for Mr. Churchill. And what is your position here today?
My position?
Yeah, no, I mean office or
Well, I'm the president of Friends of Veterans Memorial Park.
okay.
And I would like to introduce one other member of our committee, Dave Jones, who was able to make it here today. So,
Okay.
we have they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, so we have a website, by the way, and if you want to jot it down, it's FOVMP, acronym for Friends of video, it's a short video that shows you what's going to happen at our Veterans Memorial Park, and I hope you've all been down to what we have at this point. It's at the foot of Marquette Street and the Mississippi River, on the west end of that big parking lot where the boat ramp is. And we have big plans for that area. There's 43 acres the city has designated as a Veterans Memorial Park. In 2011, phase 1 was done, where there's 3 flagpoles, a concrete area, some benches, and a sign that was on the picture you just saw a little bit ago. But we have big plans. As a matter of fact, we have shovel-ready plans.
Ooh.
This is a copy of our plans for phase 2, which includes 3 major parts. All we need is $1.5 million, and we'll be ready to go. But anyway, this video is a brief video that'll show you what's going on.
Yeah, you're fine.
Now, what you're looking at right now is phase 3. This is not part of what we're working on right now, which is phase 2, which you'll specialize phase 2 here shortly in the video. But just so you get an overview of what this whole 43 acres could look like, it's pretty special. This is one of my favorite parts. The river overlook, I think, is a very special area. This is part of phase 2. And what you're seeing now is part of the $1.5 million project that we are working on trying to get funded. And we do have plans for all that you're going to see right now, shovel-ready plans, I might add. The area where the 3 flagpoles are right now would be enhanced to much, as you can see, much larger, more dramatic area. Be totally redone, actually. This is called the Gateway Memorial or Memorial Plaza. Include a ceremonial chime that would play music on the end of that walkway there. Okay, most recently, I've been involved in this about 3 years, I think. And we've had people make donations to the Veterans Memorial Park, not big enough to get phase 2, but certainly money from either individuals or groups or companies. And so we've been accumulating this money, and we thought, well, we need to show these people that their donation isn't just put on a pigeonhole someplace. We want to show them that their money has been appreciated, and so we decided that we were going to put up a monument. I call it the Star Monument, for the lack of a better term. We just installed this August 13th, about 3 weeks ago, at the Veterans Memorial Park. And we think it's about 6 feet wide and about 5 feet tall. So it's a very nice monument. And we're going to put also a sign right to the right of the picture that you're looking at right now to recognize the donors that made this part of the Veteran Memorial Park possible. So we want to recognize the individuals and groups that donated money to show our appreciation for that. So that's still in the works, but that'll be up shortly. So that's the latest thing that we've done with the Veterans also say that our bigger plan, in order to make phase two a reality, is a big part of it is a REAP grant, which we've applied 2 years in the past. A REAP grant is a state grant, and it's done through the Parks and Rec. Chad is very briefed on it. He's very major part of this REAP grant, and Zach Peterson, city engineer, to put together a 32 to 35-page application. This is a very detailed application. It's not just a fly-by-night deal. I mean, they put a tremendous amount of time and effort into this REAP grant, which is a $300,000 grant. And what we would do with that on our latest application, if you've been down there, you know there's a lot of trees and weeds and brush that has grown up on the west side there, behind the flagpoles that are existing right now. And we want to get that level, just totally get all that brush and scrub trees out of there, level it out, make it nice, put some walking trails through there, and use the dredging that came off of Lindsay Park Boat Marina. Use that as, it's all part of a natural habitat that we want to make for now, until we can get actually the phase two construction underway. So we think it'd be a great asset. We think it's a positive thing. And so that's our latest agenda to try to get this REAP grant approved. And we'll go forward from there if that happens. So that's kind of what's on the front burner right now. And we'll know if we got that accepted by the end of September, so not far down the road. We'll know if we get that 300,000 so we can move forward with our next project. So I do have some material here, but I obviously know I'm very limited on my time, what I can show you and tell you. But if you have any questions or two, I can briefly take a couple of questions maybe, and that'll be about my 5 minutes, I think. Anybody have any questions?
Jerry?
I have a couple questions. One, that whole area used to be a landfill. Is there an issue with that at all?
Well, there was a plan originally before we had this Smith group out of Minnesota do our official plans here. There was a plan to put a tower as part of the Veteran Park, but they determined because the soil is so squishy from the landfill that we cannot build anything very tall.
So you're going to be limited to what you can do back
Correct.
there.
And they're very aware of that. So
Okay.
They did soil samples and know that we can't put anything really high.
Okay. And secondly, I see it goes all the way to the river, obviously.
Yes.
Does the Corps of Engineers have anything to do with maybe along the river there? Will they be able to help us with that?
You mean for funding purposes?
Yes.
I don't think so, Chad. Do you have any input on that?
I don't think that's been explored to this point, but we can have that conversation.
Well, from the meeting we had the other night with the Credit Island, they were talking about if we come up with funds, they come up with funds. That's the reason I brought that up. I just thought maybe, So, okay. That was a couple questions I had. Thank you.
That's a good thought.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tegan?
Hello. So I enjoyed the video very much. I am a very visual person, but I had trouble orienting myself kind of to what was where.
That's kind of some swirling around.
So my question is about the existing bike path and how that would be impacted by your plans.
Not at all. It goes actually right in front of the river overlook. The overlook that you saw there, the bike path still goes right in front of it. In fact, I have a better picture. Maybe you can see it right here, since you're
Sure.
visually oriented.
Yes.
Here's an excellent picture, and the bike path would go right in front
Okay,
of,
so
as you can see right there, it goes right
It's
down through there.
currently here,
It still goes right through, yes.
and then at the flagpoles, it kind of zigs
The
through there.
flagpoles are gonna be totally redone on phase two.
Okay, so
they're
they'll
gonna
be
move
moved
a little
back.
bit.
Okay.
They're gonna move back a little bit. But the bike path would still, that's a major part of the plan, is that we still want that bike path to go right through there. So that's not gonna be altered in any way, shape, or form.
You want to just pass that down, that picture? Start with Steve there.
I think the river overlook is one of the, and the Memorial Plaza. Those are the two biggest items that we have in phase two, the river overlook and the Memorial Plaza, the enhanced area where people can sit and have benches and reflect, and the ceremonial chime, and lots of trees. And the trees would be planted in a way that it's like a formation, a military formation. So that's just a little side note, but it's well done, it's highly thought out. It's gonna be really special. So it would be a great addition to the Davenport Parks.
Adriana, did you have something?
So I've spent a lot of time in that area, partially because of the landfill. I do some environmental education of showing students what a landfill on the riverfront looks like. There's a lot of erosion, especially on the opposite side of Crescent Train Bridge, where it's kind of exposed landfill territory. I took a site visit there last week with Brittany of Public Works, and there's Japanese knotweed, which is like just something that Parks and Public Works should work on and talk about. Brittany gave an invasive species workshop a couple of weeks ago about Japanese knotweed and addressing it in Davenport. If you cut this stuff down, it comes back with a vigor. It's just very hard to address it, and along that same strip is like the biggest patch of Japanese knotweed Brittany has seen. So I think it's just important to note that.
We're aware. We're already working with Natural Resources and Brittany
Okay.
on that.
So the concrete on top of that could be a solution. And so again, I've spent a lot of time in that area, and I looked over the Phase 2 documents a couple of years ago of Veterans Memorial, and it mentioned something about having healing gardens. And then, as we know, our riverfront, we kind of like to use it for our human needs. But in this particular area, you mentioned something about natural habitat. So I see a lot of concrete in that video. Just want to keep in mind that it's a floodplain, though it's kind of built up because of the landfill. It's built up that land. Just try to keep in mind, like, concrete and floodplains don't really mesh too much. So just to be easy on the concrete usage. And then try to maybe enhance some of the natural habitat. I saw a lot of mowed landscape in the image that's being passed around and in the video. So just to increase some natural habitat down there. And I didn't hear you mention the healing gardens, but I think that's a big component and aspect that would be really appreciated, not just by veterans.
In relation to the flooding, on the day that we set the record for the highest flood in the Quad Cities here in Davenport in particular, I walked out on Centennial Bridge, out to the middle of the bridge, and I looked to see how our Veteran Memorial Park was holding up, and the 3 flagpoles were not underwater.
Sure.
So what you don't really, if you go down the bike path and you stop and look toward the park there, it's actually higher than your head. So it actually is raised significantly from the bike path, the park area.
Mhm.
So it's higher than you think. And it doesn't flood, and our 3 flagpoles did not go underwater. Not to say that they can in the future, but up to this point, they are high enough that, and actually the park goes up even a little bit higher than they. So I think this dredging that we're getting is just going to be kind of a topsoil that we'll be using that. That's going to be part of our REAP grant application that we're using, that type of thing. So I think all that's being considered. So I appreciate your input.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
What timetable are you looking at here?
Well, as I said, if we had 1.5 million, we could start tomorrow. We are ready to go. Now, we do have Bush Construction. I'm a former teacher. I'm a retired teacher from Davenport Public Schools. Taught in Davenport for 34 years. I taught at Davenport Central for 20 of those years. And one of my former students is A.J. Loss, who happens to be now president of Bush Construction. I sent out some letters to 4 construction companies, and the very next day, A.J. responded with a phone call. They would be interested in helping us with this project. And Bush Construction is, it was a $2 million project, and he had one of his cost estimators look at our plans, some tweaking, some materials, and a few things like that. They're willing to donate $215,000 worth of services, Bush Construction, and we've lowered it to about $1.5 million. So
So it's all public funded.
$10 here, $10 not gonna get it, so we need some big time spenders. And we have contacted some of those in the past, but I think and one of the things that they've always said was, well, this is a city park, what is the city doing?
Well, thank you. And next up will be a presentation from Junior Theater Inc., which, if you're not familiar, is like a friends group, I guess, of Junior Theater, correct? Only you don't, yeah. Who's doing the honors? Oh. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Sheridan. I'm the Performing Arts Supervisor for Davenport Parks and Recreation. And then I also want to explain what I mean by when I say I'm the Artistic Director of Davenport Junior Theater associated with Junior Theater Incorporated. I know I have the pleasure of riding along with you on October 1st for the bus, so I will spare you what I love to talk about is Junior Theater history, but I'm not spare you. I'll excite you when we're on the tour. But in particular with our friends group, we've just made so much success and growth from 2008 onwards that I wanted to highlight that and then let some of the members of the board, of course, speak and answer any questions you have. But in 2008, when I took the position on as Performing Arts Coordinator, you know, it was a part-time position then. We had about 325 enrollments in the program at that time. We've since grown the program to nearly 1,800 enrollments last year. We've got our sights set on 2,000, maybe not this year, but the next. And that's vastly expanded to over 35 different cities and communities in the region. So we're really a regional draw as a program. And we wouldn't have been able to get there without the help of Junior Theater Incorporated. They're a vital partner in that. Now, my role as artistic director, there's a reason to clarify here. As a performing arts supervisor, I oversee all the classes, dance, theater, all of that, the facility itself, and of course, am a direct report to the city of Davenport. The artistic director is really charged with overseeing what is the Main Stage Company. The Main Stage Company does 3 professional productions a year. There's a junior board of students who have kind of a faux board that's governed by Robert's Rules of Order. They fundraise through our concessions and they do improvement projects. They learn about governance and do trips and Halloween bashes and all sorts of great things. But when I initially came back, the job was 20 hours a week. And to be quite frank, I was there for 80 or 90 hours a week because I grew up doing junior theater and I loved it. And of course, Teresa said, don't tell me that. Legally, I can't pay you 80 or 90 hours a week. And I said, all right, well then I'll just volunteer for the nonprofit. We'll say that's what that is. And that's kind of where the artistic director position was born out of, was running this Main Stage Company to improve it. My background's in theater. So we've done that, and this is my 12th year in this position. And I don't even know who on the park staff knows, but I wanted to make sure there's no confusion in that I am resigning as the artistic director. So the person who runs those professional productions, largely because our program has grown so much. It's not feasible for me to continue to do that. We have a nice little small family now, and it's great. But the nonprofit is going to be looking for that new leader to start a year from now. So if you hear, I hear that Daniel's leaving Junior Theater, you can clarify it's just the professional producing arm. And it's exciting because we've grown so much, we can bring in another leader to focus on just that. But the partnership over the last decade has allowed for key improvements from our curtains serving not only the kids, but obviously those improvements serve the larger community as well. And the latest big collaborative project was the renovation of the Nicewander Theater, which the city had given a $70,000 challenge to the Friends Group to raise the other 70, and they managed to raise $112,000. So we were able to make some key improvements, and more than key improvements, we were able to make some really remarkable improvements to the facility that were needed, and I look forward to showing those with you. But that's been my capacity with the nonprofit, and I attend all the board meetings, and I'm also the liaison for the city, concerns or thoughts that they might have. So with that in mind, I'm sure there's plenty of holes or things to fill in and talk more about. So I'm going to turn this over to our board president, Kristen Meyer.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Hi, as Daniel said, my name is Kristen Meyer. I am the board president for the Junior Theater Inc. And I also am an alum of Junior Theater. And I was here in a board capacity and a volunteer capacity when Daniel returned to the area. And as he said, we have grown tremendously in that time. And when Daniel came to us and said, I really feel it's time to be able to concentrate on one area so that the other area does not suffer, it speaks leaps and bounds to his abilities that we did not all run from the building in panic, because he built such a cohesive team that we know that that's going to prosper because of someone else new with fresh ideas coming in to work in conjunction with him with the educational side of Junior Theater. And I do want to show you a couple of our fundraisers, because we're all about fundraising at Junior Theater. And again, as they said before, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Thank you. And we do not have the kids, and nothing against it, selling candy bars or things like that out in the public. We really like to invite the public in, see what we're about, and be able to share with the public in as many possible ways with Junior Theater. Whether it be the Stepping Stones programs coming in on Wednesday afternoons, and a lot of kids seeing theater for the first time, we hope not the last time, but being able to bring people in from the 180 group, various areas that we partner with, that we're just very proud of the impact that we are able to make in the community. Again, I said I'm an alum. My kids were all in Junior Theater and have continued to be part of the program in various ways, and now both of my granddaughters are in the program. And it's because it's valuable, and it helps build our kids to be able to get up and stand in front of a group like this. Normally, if it was in the evening, we would have the kids up here talking to you, because we want them to be able to go into an interview. We want them to be able to go up in some of their student council, in front of the Parks Advisory Committee, or in front of the city council, as they feel compelled in different ways in their lives. And our collaboration with the parks programs and with you helps us do that. I'd also like to introduce Dean Randall, who is one of our board members and parents.
I didn't get your name.
Dean Randall.
Oh, thank you.
So I just decided to come down and show support. My oldest daughter is in her final year at Junior Theater. She's 17, she'll be graduating, so she'll be moving on to college. With her experiences at Junior Theater, she's decided to pursue theater as a professional career. So that's a big undertaking as we go forward. My other daughter, who's 4 years younger, 8th grade right now, is deeply engaged. Some of her best friends have come out of the Junior Theater group, so it's just a huge collaborative program to really draw great kids with great friendships. So my support is appreciative to all your support.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if there is any questions that you have for myself, Daniel, Dean.
Jerry.
I just want to mention my grandson was in Junior Theater, Ryan Coiner. He's now graduated from high school. They live in Bettendorf. He's going to start taking college courses. And I just want to let you know that what you've done to help him on stage has really done a great job. So thank you.
Wendy.
Can we promote the upcoming main stage production so everybody knows it's happening and they may want to go for the first time?
Absolutely.
So, dates, title.
Our first production for this fall is Beauty and the Beast, non-musical version. We're very excited about having a version that's fairly true to the book, to the original story. We will follow that up with Wizard of Oz musical in February, and rounding out the season at the end of April, beginning of May, is Robin Hood, and that is actually an original adaptation by one of our local authors, Eric Randall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any other comments, so thank you again. We'll move along. Who's up first? Well, I guess Chad will probably cover the riverfront improvement, huh?
Well, we actually thought the new liaison,
Oh.
Michael, wanted to report out because I believe you stayed for after the meeting, correct?
Yeah.
So,
We'll give him a new duty here.
yeah. Other than that, Steve Aaron's written report's in your packet, but
Okay.
oh no, oh never mind, it's not. Sorry.
The picture. Oh, if you want to talk about, go ahead, Mike. If you got a few comments.
I was at a disadvantage sitting out here. They didn't seem like they had the sound on that day, and really I didn't hear hardly anything, but I'm looking forward to doing it, being a liaison with the commission, learning what they're doing as part of the general public, because when you're out in the public, sometimes what's going on doesn't seem what it really is. That didn't make sense, I know. But they were talking about the Credit Island Slough and getting that cleaned up. I biked through there yesterday, and it definitely looks like it's filling up. So that was pretty fascinating. And not hearing everything and thinking that he did, that's about all. But it's a good group of people. They're very serious, and I'm looking forward to going to the next meeting and having a really good full report.
Thank you. For those that didn't make that Credit Island meeting, it was very interesting. What was the breakdown was the feds would donate or put in like 65% of the cost, and we would do 35, something like that, which makes it more appealing. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Operations. Is there anything to? What's the matter? Is there a comment, Wendy?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. If you would go to the Riverfront Improvement Commission site and look at their agenda and meeting information, there's the detail on what was spoken to is several pages down, but it gave the information about, besides what we see on the website, about the pros and cons. I think that's a key piece, pros and cons of their action, etc. So if you're curious, there's a good place to get more detail that might supplement what we got from our information from Jessica's message.
Thank you. Now we'll move along to operations.
My written report is included. A couple of just updates of note. We did receive our bids back for the cleaning of the Credit Island Lodge. They came in very favorably. So that's very exciting. That will, we were recommended to our purchasing division what contractor we would like to use, and we will get those contracts ready to go. So that work should be proceeding here shortly.
Any questions? Wendy?
Just a comment. I think that's really awesome having HDC assist and how thrilling that was. I know we have a special person who is regularly at River's Edge, but you know, have you thought of other ways since that was successful? Has that triggered other things for involvement?
Jerry?
Why can't we do that? Well, can it be a paid program? Just a thought.
This is the first time I've been requested to have a volunteer coordinator. But we can certainly, along with all our other staffing needs, and that'll lead into I have something on that in my report, so about budget. So
What might help there, if we had someone like that, it would get a lot of things done, and it would save the city money from all these projects that could be done by voluntarily. So that might be worth the effort of having someone like that. Thank you.
I don't see any other comments, Betsy. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute, Leah. Go ahead.
It's on your written report. You just have on here that the obstacle course at Sunderbrook is very popular, and I've heard all great things. Just a lot of people have smaller children, and there's just a big complaint that they take their like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, and there's not anything for them really to do over there. And then Jerry had brought up bringing in some at EMI's, so if you are looking into that, maybe have some for older and younger kids for obstacle courses. I don't know if they make obstacle courses for younger kids, but if they do, just try and have that in the back of your head.
Thanks. Recreation, Ms. Hammond.
You have my report. I also want to mention Thursday, which is why I'm wearing this shirt, is our Miracle Field grand opening. And I know you've all been invited, but we're really, really excited to be opening it up. And there is also a party in the park that follows that. We've had a really good success, as was in my report. I think Daniel mentioned. He had a lot of registrations. We've had a lot of rentals up at the soccer complex. And so things are going really, really well. We do have a challenge of staffing. All of our stepping stone sites are like full and on waiting lists, and most of that is due to the fact that we don't have enough staff to completely staff them all. So as we were adding staff, we're able to add families to those sites.
Is the staffing problem because you don't have the positions or you can't get applicants?
It's because we don't have, applicants that are qualified. We're working on that.
Oh.
And we're gonna be out a lot of careers anyway for, AmeriCorps and for other, recruitment things, but staffing is a little bit of an issue. And in the idea of, as I was just sitting over there about volunteer coordination, we might be able to, make a position through AmeriCorps to actually work with volunteer groups, so we'll work on that.
I have one question, getting back to junior theater. How is it revenue neutral? I mean, I know it probably doesn't cover the whole cost, but how does the income from the registration and things, can you break that? I mean, is it cover half the cost of running the program, or?
The facilities there are old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But junior theater of all of our recreation programming has a very high cost recovery.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's not an enterprise fund. It doesn't run cost neutral, and that's because we try to keep it affordable for everybody. That said, it has probably in and of itself at about an 85% cost recovery.
That's great.
Really great.
I'm not suggesting it. Yeah, you know, don't get me wrong. I think it's great. I just curious. Some people might say, "Well, how much are we subsidizing this?" You know, it's worth it. It's worth it. Thank you. Maureen.
Yes. Hi, Teresa. If you said it, I missed it, and I'm sorry. But what time of day is the grand opening?
5 o'clock on Thursday.
5 o'clock.
This week.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Wendy.
Party in the park, party in the park. You know, this will be the last one. And when I read your reports, here is what I'm asking. You had an active group each time at Party in the Park. So, can you give an overall sense of, or kind of what remarks you heard as residents, you know, went to your booth, and did that generate any ideas or thoughts for future programming? Just kind of, you know, what kind of happened as you had citizens enjoying that event?
We get many comments on programming, like new stuff. They were thrilled to get like our catalog and find out what we offer. Some people didn't know still. It's really, you know, that we struggle with and constantly are trying to promote what we offer. That said, I think the feedback from the public for all of the parties in the park were just really favorable to the parks in general, that we do a really good job, and that they appreciated us doing those events as well, just so they can get out and see the different resources in the city. And knock on wood, the weather has been pretty amazing every one of them. I thought that was great, because that always helps, you know, everyone have a good time.
Thanks.
I don't see any more questions or comments. Thank you, Teresa. So next we'll go to the revenue facilities. Troy?
Hello, Troy Evans, Revenue Facilities Manager. I have plenty in my report too. A lot of things going on at the River's Edge as they're getting ready for their main part of the season in the winter. As Teresa said, the weather's been good. Golf has been really good since the summer decided to straighten out. It's been really dramatic as I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them already. With the wet weather in the spring, and then the really hot weather in the summer, which is, you know, normal it's hot, but it got really hot. And then oddly enough, I'll point out one thing that was in my report. As a couple weeks ago, we had a microburst thunderstorm that actually closed Emice Golf Course for several days, just in that little part of the neighborhood where a microburst storm came through and damaged several trees. We had hanging limbs just throughout about 6 or 7 of the holes. So we had to, it took us a while to clean up. I think I saw you take a trip around
Okay.
Any questions, please?
Adriana.
To fill some of these city positions, it seems like the job positions are posted on the city's website or like a governmental website. I just think that a lot of potentially qualified candidates or just interested people in general might not know to go there. And yeah, so that could be a reason why you guys aren't getting applications from the general public as much.
Well, thank you. I don't see any other comments or questions. Oops. Jerry, just.
Hi, Troy. How are you? I just want to tell you the golf courses are in great shape. They really are, except for what we had problems with the trees. And they did that in pretty good fashion in a couple of days that we did. And it was just like a streak went through there. It's crazy.
Hard to explain.
Yeah. But I have talked to a couple of guys out there. As a matter of fact, I talked to Ron out at Emi's, and we seem to have, there's some tile broke down underneath the ground somewhere over there on the west side. Are you looking at that, or have you seen it? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, on the west side of the course.
Yeah.
Emi's has had a lot of old farm tiles showing back up.
Mhm.
Some of it's even that old clay tile that the old farm used to use, and sometimes that water runs through the ground. It doesn't come up, but once it finds a way to the surface, and then we have to get in there. And this is something we usually clean up in the fall.
Okay.
Is we'll rent a trencher for a day and trench out all those areas down to the
Do you put new tile in then okay, at that time? Is that plastic tubing you put in there, or is that what you do? What size is that? Do you know?
It just depends how much water's there. We
Oh.
normally do everything with 4-inch tile, but sometimes if we feel it needs a 6-inch.
6-inch? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it's in pretty good shape over there, and I would like to see more sand traps over at Duck Creek.
More or any?
More. There isn't any right now. No. I think we need to make that golf course over there a little more challenging than what it is. You know, I mean, those.
I don't know if you know, we have a few grass traps.
Yeah, I know you have.
What they were is where there was a few sand traps before my era, maybe early 80s. They took them out and they grassed them through, and they're already right there. We can put them right back where they were if we wanted to.
Yeah, I'd like to see it just start something with that, and then fill them with a nice, pretty white sand somewhere. Just one here, one there. I appreciate it, Troy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy?
This is not in your report, but something that is very visible at River's Edge inside the arena, and that is the acknowledgement of supporters of hockey that is just monumental on the wall, and it really is aha. And I think that's an awesome marketing strategy. So how did that all happen, you know? And you know, it appeared to me it was mostly business. So is that true? I mean, when you're skating, you don't read them all, you know. But how'd that all happen?
Absolutely. I might have to refer to Chad on the wall. I'm not all that familiar with it, except that Ryan's been working hard to he's working on an improvement list down there, and that was on the list to come through with the new board that they have going.
It's really impressive. So take a look.
Thank you. Thank you, Troy. Well, ready for Mr. Chad?
All right. So we mentioned the Miracle Field opening, so we're really excited about that. That'll be this Thursday. So please please come and show support if you can. The park feedback, round 2 is in your packet, and the assigned parks. If we could have those back by prior to the October meeting before we do our tour, that'll give us an opportunity to summarize and have those ready for you for that part of the tour. And then we also utilize this tool as part of our planning process for Park Development Fund, which will kick off in November. What I wanted to talk about a little bit starting tomorrow is our annual budget kickoff for the city. And this is where all the departments sort of get our direction from finance department and what our budget outlook citywide will be for the upcoming fiscal year planning. As part of this year's process, at least with our department, I'm utilizing an NRPA tool, which is a benchmarking tool, and this is some of the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you guys here in the future because we're just starting to do it. But basically, we input all our operating data, and NRPA maintains a national database that then benchmarks like agencies, parks departments. So you can sort of see comparably to like communities how many full-time employees we have, how many, what's our expenditures per acre of land managed, and that sort of stuff. It'll help give you guys an understanding when these guys give you guys reports and it's, questions are, well, why doesn't this get done right away, or why doesn't this happen, or can we do this and that? Everything obviously works within our operating budget constraints and what we're given within the city. It's also hopefully will give you guys some advocacy tools when you speak or converse with your alderman or anybody else who has some say in our budget process. So to your question, Jerry, why do we not just hire a volunteer coordinator? Well, we have to prioritize different positions and needs based on our resources. So but that's something we can have conversations about and prioritize and look to see if that's a good fit within our operations. So more on that to come in the future months. I'll and look for individual emails as we get this up and running, but it'll be a real helpful tool and I think pretty informative for you all to understand our operational side of what we do. Couple project notes. Gabe's Inclusive Playground. We have some unfortunate news as of 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago we had a conference call. The equipment manufacturing, the custom pieces have hit a delay. We were anticipating that playground pieces would be delivered sometime in early August. They are not now expected to ship in early October. Working backwards with the concrete, the poured in play, and everything else with installation, that pushes us into early to mid-November. It was the decision of of Gabe's dream team, the Gloria Cypret and her team, along with our staff, to delay the installation of that playground to the spring. We just can't risk installing it and not being able to put the surfacing material in, the poured in place surface, and with the unstable temperatures in November, it's just smarter to do it all in the spring. So we were hoping that was going to happen in August and we'd have that playground done, but it won't happen in time. The other big park project that we really have slated is Jersey Farms Park. This is a CIP project. It's a ground-up park development project. It's in the 6th Ward in the Jersey Farms neighborhood. It's a 14-acre parcel of land. I've entered into a contract with Confluence to do the design work on that. It had been, our city landscape architect had been doing some preliminary work. His work schedule, unfortunately, has shifted his workload to other priorities, and we've been, quite frankly, sitting on 2 years of CIP money for this park, and I just felt we need to move it forward and get the neighborhood their park going. So with that, the kickoff meeting or the Walk the Park public meeting for that will be October 7th. And then Confluence will have final designs and will present to you guys at the January meeting. And there will be one other public meeting sprinkled in there. We haven't firmed up that date yet. But the big kickoff Walk the Park meeting will be October 7th for that park project. So that is about it. One other note, one last note. The end of September 23rd to the 28th, is the National Recreation and Park Association Annual Conference. Myself, Betsy, and Teresa will be in attendance. That's where we get a lot of good ideas on new playgrounds and programs, and we get to do educational sessions with our peers in the field. So we'll bring back lots of good information. But if there's anything in particular that's of interest to you that you'd like us to seek out and try to find more information on, whether it's a certain playground or certain golf equipment or anything, please let us know prior to that, but we'll be out of the office that week. So, questions?
Well, I don't see any lights. Oh, Mr. Coiner.
I get that on my email. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. And of course, you and I talked about one of them is using propane for the tractors and so forth, which can be less. They say it saves 30%. I don't know whether it does or not. I would think it would. I've been beyond one of all my life. I do think it would make a difference. That would be a complete change in the world. The other thing is that we keep hearing a lot about we can't get employees to work for the city, parks department, wherever that matters. And I have heard through the grapevine that sometimes it's a pay situation. And I do think that we need to look at that a little bit and see what we can do, or either that or have an in-program, entry program, and then a level of maybe we could probably get a lot more people involved, and then maybe we might be able to keep good people as well, too. I don't want to get too deep in that because it's not for me.
No, but I'll just make one comment that we are actually working through with HR a pay banding process that is analyzing all our levels of pay for our part-time employees and looking at benchmarks and comparisons to like in other jobs. And I think they would agree, I think we're a little on the low end of our pay scale, and that's where we struggle to compete a little bit, and that's what HR is really looking at, because it's not unique to just Parks and Rec. It's unique to quite a few city departments, and trying to find good employees that'll work for the rate of pay that we're at. So.
To go back, Wendy mentioned about the group that was going to talk about the lookout, the planning that hillside. Is that? Are you going to set up like a meeting of all interested people? Or?
I can just do it through email. I would recommend Adriana being Fifth Ward if she's interested, because it's in her park. But anybody else who's interested in being involved, I'll send you information. I'll just send it out to the entire group, and you can respond to me. So just a little background. Prospect Terrace Park is off of River Drive. In 2000, about then, somewhere around then there, we had significant hillsides, and it was a real wet season. And at that time, the city made repairs and did some things to try to solidify the hillside by planting deep-rooted native plants, and essentially left it at that. Through the years, the neighborhood, there's been a lot of concern raised about the aesthetics and how that looks, and historically how that park has been a manicured turf in the past, and there's been requests to try to restore it to that. We have not found a solution that we can do that in a safe manner and maintain that degree of slope and mow. We actually had at one time a tractor slide off the hill and into River Drive nearly. And the busy roadway there, I personally am not willing to risk staff life and potential others if that were to occur. So my recommendation was to seek a third-party RFP or request for proposal from outside consultants to give us proposals to do a site analysis and look at the hillside and look at that park, and then potentially give alternative recommendations. So working with some of the neighbors and staff and anybody else who's interested in the stakeholders will review those proposals. The one caveat is we have no funding for construction or, quite honestly, to hire a consultant. So if there's something that seems to fit, then I need to go out and try to find some funding to move the project forward. So at this point, it's just a means to try to get a third party to look at it and give us recommendations that would hopefully appease the neighbors and how the park looks, as well as offer us as staff opportunity to maintain the park in a safe fashion.
Okay. Thank you. Adriana.
I've got some pretty good books that were sponsored by Iowa Living Roadway Fund. Not sure if they might be a source to potentially help with funding or any ideas like that, since it is close to River Drive, which is an Iowa roadway. So I don't know if it just means rural roadways, or if, say, this busy street could qualify. But they put out a lot of really great information.
We didn't catch that. Can you repeat it, Adrian?
Iowa Living Roadway Fund. And they partner with different Iowa entities like the DNR and whatnot.
We'll look into it, see if it fits. Thank you.
I don't see any other comments or questions, so thank you, and we'll move on to advisory time. Is there anything that the members want to bring up or discuss? Number one is Wendy.
Sorry about that. I just want everyone to know about the upcoming ward meeting on September 9th for Ward 6, and it will be at 6 o'clock at the Unitarian Church that's on Jersey. Who is speaking? Speaking of Prospect Terrace, etc., Amy Kay from Public Works Natural Resources is on the agenda, as well as Kathy Wine from River Action. So it is a great opportunity to get more information on things we've been discussing recently. So hope you can join me, because I will be there. Thanks.
Wendy, can you say the
Unitarian
time?
Church. What?
Time
6
again?
o'clock. 6 o'clock.
You can find that on the city's website,
Yeah,
too.
under that.
Under the city council.
Yeah.
Thank you. 2 is Mike.
I can't agree at all that we need more sand traps on the golf courses. However, maybe Parks and Rec Department could be really innovative and just make a portable one, so when Jerry golfs, he could roll that out and he'd have it.
All right, here comes the war.
Steve, you had a question or a comment?
Real quick, those poles, those flag poles out at Red Hawk had been repaired right away, and I was glad to hear about that.
Good. Thank you. I had a question I forgot to ask. What about the Cosmic Golf, the lighted golf? Has that been used yet? I mean,
It's actually it's been ordered. We're expecting it.
Could be coming anytime. It's probably a week or so off.
You-
It's been ordered and it's being manufactured and put together for us.
do you think we'll have time this season yet to use it? Will it be, or wait till?
Yeah, we're planning on kicking something off as soon as we get it at Duck Creek.
Okay, just curious.
Hopefully we'll have some warm enough weather to have
Yeah.
a couple of more nice weekends. There's plenty of good weather left.
Yeah. Anything else? Oh, Adriana.
Kind of a drawn out process trying to get the casino off the riverfront, figuring out where that was going to go. So I have a picture of a pregnant beaver that was, so the casino's in the background and this beaver's kind of like in that little inlet where you can get your boats in and out, kind of in the downtown portion of the riverfront. So that just really hit home. The beaver was surrounded by like beer cans and just washed up trash, just eating a little twig. So that really hit home for me of just how important the wildlife habitat is on the riverfront. We've kind of pushed them out, especially in our downtown areas. There's not really anywhere for the wildlife to go. So like Veterans, pretty much the landfill area is one of the last areas for our riverfront wildlife to go. So I think it's really important to consider their habitat. And then the second photo that I have is of Veterans during this last flood. So yeah, the flagpoles are not underwater, but just about everything else is. And then the reason the flagpoles aren't underwater is because it's built up on the landfill. So yeah, and then I wasn't clear on if the Healing Gardens concept, which was mentioned in at least prior phase 2 of the Veterans Memorial, I'm just wondering if the Healing Gardens aspect is still being considered.
It's probably in phase 3 as opposed to phase 2.
Okay. And then if so, just maybe to kind of combine both of those things, because wildlife has recreational value and kind of a nice healing component. People like to look at animals and helps them forget their troubles. And then I guess the other thing is Junior Theater. Just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you do. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments or questions, just real quick, remind you of our next meeting is October 1st. And following that will be, Jessica, you wanted to give a brief discussion of what we're going to do after that meeting?
Yeah, thank you. So just like in the spring, we're going to come in, call roll, approve the meeting minutes. We will adjourn. We won't have an agenda. We'll then jump onto a bus. We're going to have less stops this year. It was a little frantic in the spring, so we're going to slow it down. That agenda has not been finalized yet. That is an extended meeting that usually takes us until about 2 o'clock. And then the bus will drop us back off here at City Hall.
So dress accordingly.
Yes, so there will be some inside, outside, moving from the bus to different locations, so be prepared for that.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments, Adriana, go ahead.
So I wasn't here for that in the spring. Are we all going to the same parks then?
Yes, so we'll all get on the bus here. Staff will talk to you on the way to our stop. We'll stop at a designated location, do some kind of tour, get some feet on the ground, really seeing things in real life, and then we'll get back on the bus and go to a different location. As soon as that agenda gets finalized, I will get that out to you. We're checking into the causeway at Credit Island and see if the bus can get us on there.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Maureen seconded. Any discussion on adjourning? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Let's see, I shut this.